So a lot of my crow paintings have this same, there he is again, of the same bird that's leaving. These are done with a limited palette and they're all very large, usually at least 22 by 30. Some are smaller, but I really need to work large in order to get this really fluid, dynamic, unpredictable paint application. Um, Again, pretty large. This was probably 24 by 38. Uh, Unframed, just the paper. Mostly I do these on hot press paper because I like the way the paint moves on the hot press. It's very slick. And again, a limited palette. This is cerulean blue and Payne's gray. Most of the paintings are cerulean blue and either Payne's gray or neutral tint. Um, so again, these three birds were just kind of sitting on, one was sitting on the bird bath and two were on the ground, and they were all in different photographs. So I just sort of took them and arranged them together. They did not have this reflection there. That's just a made up, I just, I didn't know at the beginning how I knew I was going to sit them on this edge here, but I didn't know what the reflection was going to look like. So again, that was just experimental. We used to feed the crows dog food in this little black garden bucket. So you'll often see the bucket in here. And again, you can see Paul all the way at the top of the painting, the bird that's leaving. This was actually the same bird photographed at different spots in my yard on the same day, but I just took them and put them together and then designed a door and thought, well, okay, the light's going to be coming from behind them. So what would the shadow look like? Here's two birds that are very abstracted that I photographed. They were just up in the air fighting over a piece of kibble. Again, mostly cerulean blue and Payne's gray, this one. These were some ravens, very abstracted, again, very large piece. Just a single bird. It's all about edges, lost and found edges, spray bottle, losing an edge, finding it again, losing it again, intentionally splattering, intentionally using a spray bottle, tilting the board different angles so I can get those intentional drips. And again, not knowing what the outcome is going to be. I like not knowing. This one is actually 43 by 43, pretty big. This one was a little bit smaller, maybe 20 by 28. Again, these birds were all in different photographs. These birds were all in different photographs. There's Paul again up in the top right corner. So this was a collage. I took all my reject paintings that didn't work and I cut out all the crows and then I collaged them onto a piece of watercolor paper. And then I took a little drip bottle and put paint in it and then just dripped all these lines in different directions. This is actually called Map of the World because it feels a little bit like a globe to me because it has all the longitudinal and latitudinal lines. So anyway, again, another interpretation. This was done with just shadow violet and cerulean blue. So two color, wet and wet. Pretty large painting. This was probably 24 by 41. Some lovebirds. Again, just a simple, a single bird can say so much. This is actually, I do some water-based oils, the cobra oils. So this is a two-color cobra oil painting on panel. Again, the same thing, two-color cobra oils on panel. And here's a raven with a little bit more color to it. And a single bird. Again, here's a larger story with more birds in it. And again, Paul in the painting, ravens in the snow. So a real variety of stories. And I never know what the story is going to be at the beginning of a painting. I'll just start with one bird and say, you're going to be my narrator. What do you have to say? Who do you want to talk to? So then I'll look through all my other photographs and I'll find, who the second person or the second bird, the second character is in this narrative and start to move them around the page to see what kind of dynamics I can create with them, what kind of negative space I'm creating as I'm moving them around. Sometimes there's just a single bird that wants to speak all by themselves. Here's one with a lot of intentional drips. And sometimes the birds get so, they disappear so much. I come back and I actually use like a gesso, and I'll come back and paint gesso back on to find the edges. And I sometimes I've used acrylic or Chinese white, but you want something that's going to stay put. So I found that gesso is really interesting because then you can paint back over top of the gesso with the watercolor and get really interesting textures. Again, none of these birds are in the same photo. I just created a space for them to be and interact with each other. And again, it's just as much about that negative space as it is about the positive space. So, who was the narrator? Second bird in from the right.